If betrayal has ever cracked your chest open and made you question your own goodness, stay with me, because what broke you is not the end of you. I want to start by saying this clearly, because betrayal has a way of distorting reality when someone betrays you. It doesn't just hurt your feelings. It rearranges your nervous system. It rewrites your inner rules about trust, safety, and love. Suddenly, the world feels sharper, louder, less predictable. And you don't just lose trust in others, you start losing trust in yourself. You replay conversations. You question your instincts. You ask, how did I not see this? That question alone can quietly eat away at your sense of worth. Betrayal teaches you to armor up fast, to build walls where there used to be windows. And the tragedy is those walls don't just keep pain out. They keep connection out too. They keep joy out. They keep love out. So you survive, but you stop fully living. You become careful, calculated. You call it strength, but underneath it is grief you haven't named yet. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. Betrayal often comes from people we loved, trusted, or needed. That makes the wound deeper, because it's not just the loss of the relationship, it's the loss of who you were before the betrayal. The open version, the hopeful version, the you who believed. Healing doesn't begin by pretending you're fine. It begins when you tell the truth about how deeply this changed you, and you decide that pain will not be the author of your future. After betrayal, the most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is this: I should be over this by now. But healing doesn't work on a timeline. It works on honesty. And if you rush yourself, you don't heal, you harden. You become someone who looks functional on the outside and feels numb on the inside. You smile, you show up, but you're carrying a quiet rage and an even quieter sadness that no one sees. Betrayal creates shame, even though it shouldn't. You start believing that being hurt means being weak, that trusting made you foolish, that loving fully was a mistake. But vulnerability was never the problem. The problem was someone else's inability to honor what you gave them. When we confuse those two things, we punish ourselves for another person's failure. Your body remembers betrayal before your mind does. That's why your chest tightens when you get close to someone new. That's why your stomach drops when a message goes unanswered. That's why you flinch at the smallest signs of distance. This isn't drama, it's survival. Your system learned that closeness equals danger, and it's trying to protect you the only way it knows how. But protection and isolation are not the same thing. One keeps you safe, the other keeps you alone, and the work, real healing work, is learning the difference. It's learning how to honor the pain without letting it decide the shape of your life. You don't heal betrayal by forgetting it. You heal it by understanding how it taught you to fear connection and gently, bravely choosing connection anyway, one honest moment at a time. One of the hardest truths about betrayal is this: it doesn't just break trust with others, it fractures the relationship you have with yourself. You stop listening to your intuition because it failed you once. You override your gut. You second guess your emotions. And slowly, without realizing it, you abandon yourself in an effort to stay safe. But here's the truth that changes everything your intuition didn't betray you. It was overridden by hope, love, loyalty, or the belief that people would treat you the way you treat them. That is not weakness. That is humanity. And healing begins when you stop blaming yourself for being human. Rebuilding after betrayal starts inward. Before you can trust anyone else, you have to rebuild trust with yourself. That means noticing when something feels off and honoring it. It means setting boundaries not as punishment, but as protection. It means believing yourself when something hurts instead of minimizing it to keep the peace. This is where courage shows up quietly. Not in dramatic confrontations, but in small, steady acts of self-respect. Saying no when your body says no. Walking away when something costs you your dignity. Letting discomfort guide you instead of shame silencing you. And yes, this part feels lonely because you're changing patterns that once kept you connected to people who didn't deserve access to your heart. But loneliness is not the same as being lost. Sometimes it's the space where you finally hear yourself again, Healing betrayal doesn't mean you become harder. It means you become clearer about who you are, clearer about what you will and will not tolerate. And clarity, real clarity, is the foundation of a heart that can stay open without being unprotected. After betrayal, many people confuse healing with becoming untouchable. You tell yourself, I won't need anyone again. I won't feel this deeply again. And on the surface, that sounds powerful. But emotional shutdown isn't strength. It's grief wearing armor. It's pain that never got permission to move through you. When you shut your heart down, you don't just block heartbreak. You block intimacy. You block laughter that comes from the belly. You block the kind of connection that reminds you you're alive. And over time, numbness starts to feel safer than love, not because it's better, but because it's familiar. Here's the paradox: the goal of healing is not to make sure you never get hurt again. That's impossible. The goal is to build a self you trust so deeply that even if pain comes, you know you'll survive it without abandoning yourself. That's real resilience. An open heart doesn't mean a boundary, less life. In fact, openness without boundaries is what leads to betrayal in the first place. Healing is learning to hold both at the same time softness and strength, tenderness and discernment, hope and self-respect. This is where many people get stuck. They believe they must choose between love and safety. But that's a false choice. You can love bravely and still walk away the moment respect disappears. You can care deeply and still protect your peace. You can stay open without staying exposed. Your heart is not the problem. It never was. What needs healing is the belief that being open means being unprotected. True healing teaches you how to keep your heart open and guarded by wisdom, not fear. Betrayal has a way of teaching you to scan for danger everywhere. You read between every line, you analyze tone, you brace for impact before anything even happens. And while this hyper-vigilance once kept you safe, over time it starts stealing your peace. You're not living, you're monitoring. Healing asks a different question. What do I need to feel safe inside myself? Because real safety doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from knowing your limits, your values, and your exit points. It comes from trusting that you will act when something crosses a line. One of the bravest things you can do after betrayal is slow down. Stop rushing intimacy. Stop over-explaining. Stop proving your worth to people who haven't earned your trust. Let relationships reveal themselves over time. Consistency is the new chemistry. Accountability is the new attraction. Emotional availability is the new intimacy. And here's something quietly radical. You don't owe access to your heart just because someone wants it. Trust is built in layers. It grows when words match actions, when apologies come with change, when you don't have to beg for clarity or care. Healing doesn't mean you become suspicious of everyone. It means you become selective. You stop chasing connection and start choosing alignment. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I feel respected, seen, and safe here? This is how you stay open without bleeding everywhere, not by closing your heart, but by learning where it truly belongs. A healed heart isn't rushed. It's rooted. And when you move from that place, betrayal loses its power to define your future. There is a quiet grief that follows betrayal, and it's not just about losing the person. It's about losing the future you imagined with them. The conversations you thought you'd have, the safety you assumed was real, the version of your life that felt certain. And we rarely give ourselves permission to mourn that loss. We minimize it. We tell ourselves to be strong. But ungrieved loss doesn't disappear. It settles into your body and shows up as bitterness, exhaustion, or emotional distance. Healing requires mourning without self-judgment, letting yourself feel angry without becoming cruel. Letting yourself feel sad without believing you are broken. Grief is not weakness. It is love with nowhere to go. And when you honor it, it softens instead of hardens you. This is where compassion becomes essential, not for the person who betrayed you, but for yourself, for the part of you that hoped, for the part that stayed too long, for the part that believed words instead of patterns. Those parts don't need punishment. They need understanding. when you meet your pain with compassion, something shifts. You stop demanding that healing be clean and linear. You stop shaming yourself for having setbacks. You realize that strength is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to stay present with it. Betrayal can make you believe that pain is permanent. But pain is a messenger, not a life sentence. It's pointing you toward deeper boundaries, clearer values, and a more honest relationship with yourself. When you allow yourself to grieve fully, you make room for something new, not replacement, not denial, but wisdom. And wisdom is what turns heartbreak into healing. One of the most terrifying steps after betrayal is this letting yourself be seen again. Not perfectly, not confidently, but honestly. Because betrayal teaches you that visibility is dangerous, that if people really know you, they'll use it against you. So you learn to perform strength instead of living truth. But healing asks for something braver than perfection. It asks for authenticity. It asks you to stop pretending you're unaffected, stop minimizing your needs, stop carrying everything alone just to prove you're fine. Because connection doesn't come from impressing people. It comes from letting yourself be real in front of the right ones. And yes, discernment matters here. Healing doesn't mean oversharing with unsafe people. It means choosing vulnerability with those who have earned the right to hear your story. People who listen without rushing you. People who don't weaponize your pain. People who show up consistently, not just when it's convenient. This is how trust is rebuilt, not moment by moment, a shared truth, a respected boundary, a response that feels steady instead of chaotic, and slowly, your body learns a new lesson. Closeness doesn't always end in harm. You don't need a crowd. You don't need universal understanding. One safe connection can begin to rewire what betrayal taught you about relationships. One moment of being believed can soften years of self-doubt. Staying open doesn't mean you ignore fear. It means you don't let fear make every decision for you. Courage after betrayal is quiet, slow, and deeply intentional. And every time you choose honesty over armor, you reclaim a piece of yourself that betrayal never had the right to take. Betrayal doesn't just change how you see people, it changes how you see love itself. You may start believing that love always comes with conditions, that closeness always ends in loss, that trusting deeply is an invitation to be destroyed. And if you're not careful, those beliefs quietly shape your future more than the betrayal ever did. Healing means challenging the stories pain wrote for you. Not by forcing optimism, but by asking better questions. Is this belief protecting me or imprisoning me? Is this fear rooted in truth or in an old wound because unexamined pain becomes a rule book you never agreed to, but keep following anyway? This is where courage becomes a daily practice, choosing curiosity instead of cynicism, choosing openness in small, manageable doses, letting yourself experience connection without immediately scanning for the exit, not because you're naive, but because you're aware. Love after betrayal is different. It's slower, it's clearer, it's less about intensity and more about integrity. You're no longer impressed by grand gestures, you're moved by consistency. You don't fall for words, you watch behavior. And that's not bitterness, that's wisdom earned the hard way. You don't need to rush yourself back into trust to prove you're healed. Healing isn't about speed, it's about alignment. When your heart, your boundaries, and your values move together, trust grows naturally. Betrayal tried to teach you that love is dangerous. Healing teaches you something far more powerful. Love is not the absence of risk, it's the presence of self-respect. And when those two meet, your heart doesn't close, it becomes stronger. At some point in healing, you realize something quietly profound. The betrayal no longer controls your reactions the way it once did. You're not constantly reliving it. You're not organizing your life around avoiding pain. The wound is still part of your story, but it's no longer the narrator. This is the moment when empowerment replaces survival, when you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me about who I am becoming? And that shift matters because meaning is what transforms pain into purpose. You begin to notice your strength in ordinary moments. in how you speak up sooner, in how you leave when respect disappears, in how you no longer beg for honesty. You expect it, you trust your ability to handle disappointment, not because it won't hurt, but because you won't abandon yourself when it does. Forgiveness often comes up here, and it's misunderstood. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. It's not excusing harm. It's not inviting someone back into your life. Forgiveness is releasing the belief that carrying anger will protect you. It's choosing peace over permanent vigilance. And sometimes forgiveness is simply this deciding not to let what happened harden you into someone you don't recognize. Deciding that your heart deserves a future that isn't shaped entirely by the worst thing that happened to you. Healing doesn't erase betrayal. It integrates it. It becomes part of your wisdom, not your identity. And when you reach this place, you don't feel invincible. You feel grounded. You feel whole. You feel free. If you take nothing else with you, take this: betrayal may have changed you, but it does not get to decide who you become. You are not here to live guarded forever. You are here to live awake, aware, and deeply rooted in your worth. Healing is not about returning to who you were before the betrayal. That version of you didn't yet know how strong you are. Healing is about becoming someone who can love with open eyes and a protected heart. Someone who knows that vulnerability is not recklessness and boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to the right people. You will love again, but differently, with more intention, with more truth, with a deeper respect for yourself. And when trust is broken in the future, because life is imperfect, you will know this. Pain can visit, but it does not get to move in. An open heart is not a naive heart. It is a brave one. A heart that has been broken and still chooses connection is not weak. It is powerful beyond measure. So don't close your heart. Teach it discernment. Teach it courage. Teach it that love, when grounded in self-respect, is still worth the risk. And here's the ending: truth betrayal may have shaped your scars, but healing will shape your legacy.